Good evening and welcome to another scintillating edition of the Golden Jubilee Lecture Series. This evening is going to be, I am sure, a power-packed, short but intensive, wonderful conversation with our distinguished speaker, the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Kiran Bedi, and her topic, Perseverance, Instances from My Life. I now invite Dr. Vidya Garodekar, Pro-Chancellor SIU, to deliver the welcome address.
Honorable Governor Ma'am, Dr. Kiran Bedi ji, who I very fondly call Kiran Didi ji, my father, Dr. Muzumdar sir, the Chancellor of the University, Dr. Rajani Gupte, the Vice Chancellor of the University, all our directors, faculty members, non-teaching staff, well-wishers of Symbiosis, and my wonderful students who have joined in thousands of numbers for this Symbiosis Golden Jubilee Lecture Series. As you know, ma'am, Muzumdar sir established Symbiosis in 1971. So we are actually celebrating our Golden Jubilee year. And unfortunately, because of COVID, all our celebrations, which were supposed to be on campus, had to be stalled. And we were really disheartened. But, I've always read all your books and I'm an optimist because of, all your readings and writings. We felt that why get disheartened, can we look at, think out of the box and look at something else. And then we thought that let us have the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee lecture series online, and that became such a big hit. In fact, I've been tracking you and your office for many many months because I wanted to open the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee lecture series at your hands, but you've been busy and busier than ever before, and therefore I'm so happy that you accepted to speak today. Uh, your association with Symbiosis and with our family, I think it's over 3 decades, if I'm not mistaken, and it's almost like family. But every time you come to Symbiosis or address our students, and I always say this in every speech of mine, that you leave back so much energy that we keep this energy going till the next year that you come back again to address us. I think it's only since the last 4 years that you've been so very busy at Puducherry that you've not found time to come to Symbiosis. But I don't think we missed out a single year before that when ma'am hasn't come to the campus and addressed various institutions, various students, undergraduate, postgraduate, and there's always been a full house full of students in the auditorium, and the energy that she leaves behind with each one of us. So I'm not going to take much time because I know the time is very short. But I only know that the amazing work, ma'am, that you've been doing at Puducherry, and I just hope that you will continue for one more term. But even if you don't, I hope Dr. Muzumdar sir and my mother find time to visit you there and see your wonderful work, because I have been telling them for the last 3 years that you must go and spend some time in Puducherry, meet you, and of course, all the places there which they need to see. So with these few words, I welcome you to the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee Lecture Series, and I hope our association continues and grows further. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. I now invite Professor Dr. S.P. Muzumdar, Founder and President Symbiosis and Chancellor SIU, to address the audience.
Namaste to all. Dr. Kiran Bedi, today's distinguished speaker, Dr. Vidya, Dr. Gupte, Anita Patankar, faculty, directors, and my dear students. Whenever I see Kiran Bedi, I get energized. She is the fountain of energy and enthusiasm. And therefore, whenever she comes to Symbiosis, the entire audience gets charged with energy, and all students are eager to listen to Kiran Bedi. Madam, as you know, Symbiosis was established on 26 January 1971, not as an educational institution, but as a small cultural organization to foster friendship between foreign and Indian students and to solve the day-to-day problems which Afro-Asian students face in Pune. But I'm glad that over a period of 50 years, this idea of Symbiosis has blossomed into Symbiosis International University. And as rightly said by Dr. Vidya, we wanted to celebrate this Golden Jubilee year through physical activity, but because of Corona, we couldn't do it. But at the same time, we have found out a very innovative way to celebrate Golden Jubilee of Symbiosis. Madam, Corona has adverse effects in different fields, and people, scientists are interested in finding out a vaccine for Corona. But I look upon Corona from different angles. It has some positive aspects also, because I often see an opportunity in calamity. I do feel that Corona has, has been a good teacher to our students, faculty, and to all of us in Symbiosis International University. Because Corona has taught us what is life all about. It has taught us in the last 9 months the value of simplicity, the value of spirituality, and plus uncertainty. Simplicity, spirituality, and uncertainty. These are the three lessons which Corona has taught us. Perseverance, the subject on which you are going to speak, is the most important virtue in this particular pandemic. And I'm sure our students would like to listen to your views, how you have cultivated perseverance, how you have overcome ups and downs in your life, so that our students will feel some kind of hope, a ray of hope to overcome the psychological stress which they are going on. And when they will come physically on the campus, they will be extremely happy to interact. Because I do feel that online education is no substitute to physical education. Thank you, madam, for sparing your time. And without taking much of your time or anybody's time, I request you to inspire our students. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Perceptive and insightful few words as always. Instead of the usual traditional introduction, which our distinguished speaker actually doesn't require at all, we thought that we'll show a short film to you, which highlights the major milestones in Dr. Bedi's life. Can we have the film, please? Without further ado, may I please welcome the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Kiran Bedi. Ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Patankar. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Majumdar.
Namaste, namaste.
आपको देख के हमेशा I feel so good, as you rightly said, it's a mutual energy source. And thank God that God has given you, continuing to give you very good energy and health, that you're continuing to steer us and mentor
Thank you.
millions of students all over the world. And that your most well-deserved daughter, Vidya, very, very wonderful person. भगवान करे सबको ऐसी बेटी दे. Your good karma has given you such a wonderful family in Vidya, her husband, Rajiv, and the whole family. So you're a very blessed family. That is why Symbiosis is a very blessed institution. You see, I have seen institutions which have begun with sweat and with hard work, with right karma, with the right thought, flourished. They flourish. Any educational institution which has begun with the right karma, with the right value system, with the right thought, with the right intention, has flourished. And that is why it has happened, because you, Dr. Majumdar, the father of Symbiosis. I've seen, because in my life now, in the last 4 years also, I've seen institutions which have begun with some absolutely ill intentions. And the students even of that are not at peace. They're always in strife. They're always in conflict. But institutions like yours, which started with the right kind of investments of energy, value system, hard work, total integrity, and sacrifice and giving, and the whole family dedicated, naturally the students will flourish and make a great name, and the institution also multiplies all over the it will continue to grow. There's no stopping this institution now becoming one day. It is a world university, I know that, but it will continue to add value to humanity. Therefore, I'm very, very happy to be reconnecting with you through virtual. You have sent me some questions, Dr. Patankar. It's on perseverance. You have the best example of Dr. Majumdar and Symbiosis yourself. You are a case study yourself. Had he not persevered from a small room of School of Journalism, which I first came to decades ago, he called me, invited me when I was a young officer, fairly middle ranked in the service. And I was called to speak for his School of Journalism. And I still remember the small room and the small building I was invited in. I remember that. Those things cannot be forgotten. You are a classic case of perseverance for the right reason, for the right cause. And you stayed on course. You stayed on journey. That is the main thing. You've continued to add wagons to your car, your train of Symbiosis. You're adding every day, and you're creating, and your technology is constantly changing and evolving so that you continue to stay in speed. You've not slowed down. And wherever I've noticed Symbiosis, that's perseverance about. While you're persevering, you continue to grow and develop. To me, perseverance doesn't mean just continuing to do what you think is right, but continue to go and evolve and change for the better alongside. So this is what I would write as an opening statement. However, as far as perseverance is concerned, my life is based on 3-4 beliefs. And then I will take your question and answers, which you've given. My first belief, in which has been a level of perseverance, has been no change in that ever since I was a growing up girl, is number one rule is, I will reap as I sow. And I've persevered in my thought. It has not changed. I will not cut anything and get anything which I've not sown the seeds of. So it has not changed, because these are laws of nature. I've persevered in my belief. Number one, I shall reap as I sow. If I've reaped positivity, I will reap energy. But if I've reaped negativity and neglect, I will reap also decline and unhappiness. So this is my number one belief. I have persevered. So I would share with you 3-4 of my beliefs which have persevered in my life, and without even making, it's effortless perseverance. A stage in life comes when perseverance becomes effortless. And for me, these beliefs are effortless. Number one, I shall reap, and I will reap only, and I have reaped only what I sowed. Wherever I reaped not the right thinking, I suffered for it also. So it's not that I've experienced it, that where I went wrong, or I didn't listen to the right advice, or I didn't follow the right path, I have suffered for it. So therefore, it put me back on track to believe that reaping is so very critical. It's called the laws of nature. Secondly is that you are what you think you are. Now, this is as an angle of a woman. Now, when I was growing up, it was a man's world, completely man's world in the sense, it was a world of muscle. Woman is not known for muscle. Woman is known for mind, for her own mind, rather than a muscle. A woman has a mind of her own, biologically, a body of her own, and a mind of her own. So secondly is what you think, who you are. What you are, you think. Now, secondly, when I was growing up, for me, I didn't see a difference between the needs of the people across. I had my own needs. As a woman, as developing, as getting educated, having a career in mind, having a spirit of public service. So I am what I thought. So you are, secondly, you are what you think. So I'm basically cutting across, answering certain questions which women may be asking. Why are you different? I'm not different. I am my own product. So my second thing is I am my own product, and everybody is a product of their own thinking, which means you are what you think. That means you decide what you want to be and think that, and that's what you are. If you think you're weak, you are weak. If you think you're no less than anybody else, you are that. If you think that you're better than the others in certain ways, that's what you are. If you think you need to learn more and learn from others, you will learn and you will be better, because you are thinking that you want to be better. My second rule of law of nature also has been a belief in persevering, that if I think that I have certain responsibilities, this is my law, this is my work to do, I do. I don't think and I don't doubt myself. I've been persevering in my internal sense of security and confidence in my own belief that I shall be what I believe I am. My third thing is, I am what I spend my time and energy on. I've been very persevering because I have a belief and I have a vision of my own self. I am on what I spend my time and energy. Finish. Because the time limit is 24 hours a day. Rich or poor, man or a woman, child or old, everybody gets only 24 hours of the day. Therefore, my tomorrow shall be what I invest today. If I read today more, I become more knowledgeable for tomorrow. If I learn a skill today, I will be more skilled for tomorrow. If I'm healthy today, I'll have more energy for tomorrow. If I build good networks and friendships, I'll have more friends for tomorrow. If I grow in family, I'll have a family for tomorrow. So whoever, I would say, you are what you spend your time and energy on. Therefore, the last perseverance is, therefore, when these are my beliefs, which I persevere in, is as I reap, I shall reap as I sow. Secondly, I am what I believe in. And third is, you are what you spend your time and energy on. For me, time is fleeting. Time just flies. It's not going to wait for anybody. It's not going to wait for anybody. You cannot catch it. You can only invest it. You can already understand it, that it's impermanent. And therefore, it's come and it has to go. I cannot hold it back. Therefore, the only choice, what is the choice I have, is to make my right choices every single day. Every single day is a choice. Every day. So I have persevered in making my own right choices to the extent my wisdom gave me. As I said, at times you make a bad choice. But the point here is that once you understand that you are what your choices you're making every day, because this day is not going to come back. It's like an arrow which has left your bow. You can't say, come back, I want to put you back. It's an arrow you've shot and it cannot. Therefore, why should I should hit this day also. So sometimes I start wondering, oh, I got to do the same thing again. Yes, because that's a reality of the life, that this is a new day, a fresh day. The sun doesn't get tired of rising in the morning. Why should I? The sun has come to say, look, I am relighting the world. What about you? Last lovely thing which I've read is so beautiful, and I think I'm persevering on that. This was a monk who wrote this in the Speaking Tree of Times of India. He wrote that every day I get up and I put my feet on ground. And he says, first thing I asked myself in the morning is, do I want this day to be a heaven or hell? And I choose heaven. So every morning, when I put my feet on the ground, I choose heaven. And you know what I do? Every day, I also choose heaven. When I put my feet on the ground, when I get up in the morning, I say, today, heaven. And the whole day remains a heaven. Any negativity goes because it's not part of the heaven. So the day goes like a heaven. It goes like a breeze. So I would say this is what is also being put. Now, I learned the word heaven and hell much later. As a child, I used to say, I remember parents used to say, तुम्हारे shoulders में ना दो जने हैं, एक है दो जने, grows or whoever you feed more, means angel and the devil. So who grows more is who you feed more. I want to live in heaven. Why in hell? So rather than feeding the monster or the devil, I feed the angel. Angels are in heaven. So this is another thing when you persevere, is to make a choice every morning when you put your feet on ground. So these are my persevering beliefs. They've not changed. For me, they are age old, and they become a habit. You don't have to remind them. You only can choose better words as you read and you learn. So Dr. Anita Patankar and Vidya and Dr. Majumdar, these are my persevering beliefs. On the rest of it, my life is built on these. I will now answer your questions and make them practical, linking themselves with my career wherever it's relevant, not unnecessarily, but wherever it's relevant. You can go ahead and pose your questions now.
Thank you, Dr. Bedi. Wonderful, wonderful recipe and mantra, and I'm sure the students have questions on those. Most of the questions I'm going to ask, but we do have a question from Sarath, SIBM Pune. Sarath, if you're here, can you just unmute and ask your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, am I audible? Unfortunately,
yes,
it's become the first question.
Yeah.
Going ahead with the second question, ma'am. Very good evening, ma'am. I'm Sarath from SIBM Pune. While starting your stint as the governor of Puducherry, you had said that your aim is to put Puducherry on the tourist map of the country. And we all know that getting rid of open defecation is one of the most important steps in that. But your steps and measures, ma'am, they've been met with some resistance and you have been misinterpreted as well. So how do you still persevere in the face of such obstacles and march ahead and, try and achieve your goal, ma'am?
You're right. You're right. When I just was posted and appointed, for me, Goa and Pondicherry were like two sides of the same coin. That's how I looked at it from outside. Because Goa is also beautiful beaches. Puducherry has also very beautiful beaches. If you visited Puducherry, it's got one of the finest, one promenade beaches and many virgin beaches still. And it is also, while Goa has a spirit as a church, Pondicherry has an ashram in the Auroville. So it's spiritually, nature gifted. I did believe that. And I still believe it is. One day you will see Puducherry will become the ultimate destination of tourism, because Government of India has invested a lot in the last 3 years into development of the beaches and staying places. Earlier it did not have. Therefore, you had a very few places. You didn't have these 5-star and 4-star hotels. Now they're coming up, which means infrastructure on the beaches. It's taken time because this tourism is very infrastructure expensive. But Government of India has invested a lot into this tourism infrastructure. And you will see what I'm saying today, 2-3 years after I've gone, you will see it will come. Say, she was right. It is. The third thing is, whatever infrastructure we have need not be government run, so that it's self-reliant. So rather than the going government running, like Ashoka Hotel being government run, ITDC being running, no. Once it's becoming a PPP model, you will see it will become revenue generating. At the moment, our tourism was not revenue generating because infrastructurally it was held back. Secondly, it did not have the investments. And secondly, it was also not, it was run by the government, and governments are not good businessmen. We don't know how to do business. We know how to interpret the law and the rule and lay down the policy, but we should not do what we're not good at. So I think the Puducherry has a tourism corporation. I have no doubt that in another 2 years, what I said will come true, albeit late. In fact, Asha Gupta, you've connected with, belongs to Tourism Corporation. You connected with, and I'm sure what I'm answering is going to delight her. It will happen one day.
Thank you.
But when you talked about defecation, I'll answer that. That's a fact that open defecation was a problem all over the country. And thanks to the Prime Minister, who used the ramparts of the Red Fort to say, India must stop openly defecating. And it's a fact. The millions of toilets which have been built, millions of toilets which have been built to stop open defecation is salutary. In fact, if we had not done this, COVID would have swallowed us up, because COVID and sanitation are so interlinked. So if you want to bring down COVID, you have to have a healthier, hygienic environment. So therefore, imagine the two things came before COVID so by destiny. Number one was Jan Dhan accounts, where all the relief could go direct transfer to the poor people in times of crisis. So no money lost. So all the money relief, which was for the poorest of the poor, went direct to their bank accounts because they all had Jan Dhan accounts. And secondly, they also had toilets. Imagine coming out and doing toilets. I've seen drains and drains carrying sewerage. It's just totally gone now. And it's happened in these 3-4 years. That's a fact. What I did was added energy to the government. But the wind behind my sails was nobody other than the government of India themselves. The amount of money they pumped in to see everybody has a toilet, either a community access to a community toilet or has access to their own home toilet. And I've seen this magic happening within my tenure. So therefore, both the things, one is will come, second is has come.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bedi. The next question I'm going to ask on behalf of Kanwalpreet Kaur of SIMC. As students who are about to embark on our professional journeys, we are constantly under pressure to achieve, to be productive, and to constantly exceed our own and everyone else's expectations. How do you manage expectations?
So
as you
my
went
question,
from one milestone? Yeah.
my counter question, Dr. Patankar, is, please ask them, do they live for others or they first live for themselves?
Difficult, isn't it?
Who do they live for? They live for others or they live for themselves? If they're living for themselves and they know themselves and they're working hard and they have a clean, very good goal, then what is the pressure? It's their own pressure. Why others' pressure? So that basically means they're not sure of themselves. Why should you become a particular professional when you want to choose some other profession? Because of others' pressure. So you'll always be around in a square. Pick up a profession which you love. Pick up a profession which you're very happy at. Pick up a profession which is an extension of you. For me, like administrative service was an extension. And see, I work 18 hours a day and anytime you ask me, I'm fine. Because I'm an extension of my inner self. So why under pressure? And I don't work under pressure. Nobody tells me work 18 hours a day. I feel I'm self-employed. I work on my terms. So live life on your own terms. So therefore, don't come under external pressure, which means that you are yourself in doubt. Don't be in doubt. Be sure of yourself and don't take that external pressure, and be confident and work towards that and achieve it and get that joy. So therefore, whose pressure? That means please be starting to learn to be sure of your own efforts and have confidence in your own self.
Thank you. The next, I'm going to combine two questions. Palak Nath from the Institute of Engineering and Sunipa from the School of Economics. After qualifying for the civil service examination and securing such a good rank, what made you choose the police service over IAS? And linked to this, you are the first female Indian police service officer. You must have had failures like everyone else. How did you cope with that? And was being the first woman, now you just answered saying that you don't take external pressure, but Is there some specific mantra to motivate specifically young girls who want to become officers like you?
As I explained to you, the moment you have these beliefs in you, and you also have a vision of yourself, what do you want to be? How do you want to spend your life? After all, you have to be self-dependent as well. You got to be self-reliant as well, or you're going to be dependent life. You got to choose. You can have a dependent life, and you can have an independent life, and you can have an interdependent life. I decide to have an independent life and choose to share my independence when I wanted to choose. So I think that's the teenage message to me, is what is the kind of life you want to lead? You are no way different from the boys when you're getting an institution like Symbiosis. When you get institutions like Symbiosis, or you get institutions, very good learning places, how are you less than anybody else? So why say teenage girls? Why not say when I'm young? So why say teenage girl? Why not say when I'm young? Because the same thing applies to even to young boys. What I'm saying, even young boys and young girls need a direction. They need a destination. And they need passengers along. They need friends along. But they also need the skill to continue to run their own occupation and be self-dependent. So I think if your goal is a life of self-reliance, self-dependence, and a life of self-dependence in abundance, if you're looking for a life of self-reliance in abundance, why abundance? So I want to give. I want to grow to give. So if you, for that growing to give, you got to go abundance of hard work, abundance of discipline, abundance of good time management, abundance of good planning, abundance of education, abundance of skill development. These are the mantras. And abundance of self-care, because you have to be very careful with how you grow, what kind of energy you build with your health. Your secret is your good energy is coming through health. If you got energy, you got it all. If you're not healthy and stamina, I had the stamina. As a girl, I had the stamina. I had stamina more than anybody else. I could work hours and hours. I could run, I could play, I could study, because I was a very good upbringing. My home was very caring. My mother was very nurturing. I was gifted by very good parents who gave me the best nurturance of health. It's like spiritual home with great nurturance. It was not expensive food. It was the right food. So they gave me the right energy, the right environment. So I had the stamina. So I built on that. You got to build on that stamina. Once you build on that stamina, and my life was, I was growing up as a girl. I'd seen how women were becoming dependent, and I had vowed I shall not be dependent even for a single day on anybody. So with the result, I started to become an independent student as well. I was a scholarship holder from my graduation onwards. I declared it to my parents, Daddy, I shall study on a scholarship. And I was the only one who broke the university rules of Punjab University, Chandigarh, where I got double scholarship. I got it in academics and I got it in sports, tennis, because I was also national tennis champion when I entered the university. So the vice chancellor told me that, and I, by the way, chose a university which would give me 2 scholarships, because I knew I would bring a tennis trophy to the Punjab University, Chandigarh. And Vice Chancellor, Mr. Suraj Bhan, I went up to him as a 16, 17-year-old girl and said, Sir, I'm a national champion and I'm topping in my political science. I will join the university which gives me 2 scholarships. And he said, you join here. Otherwise, he knew I could go to Kurukshetra University, who could also differ. But I told him, I love Chandigarh. I want to play for Chandigarh, provided I get 2 scholarships. And he broke the rule for me. And I won. The point is, I had confidence, I had the stamina, and I had the vision. So have a stamina, have the physical as your foundation, and stay on course. That there will be distractions all along the way, because that's what temptations are all about. You will be distracted, you will be tempted also, but you've got to be on the watch till you reach your particular set of minimum threshold of self-reliance. Then you take your chances, but minimize mistakes, because every mistake you make eats into your energy. It guzzles out, it decreases. Why should I waste my energy? Why must I go be a patient and go to a doctor? Why, when I can stay healthy? So I would say my message to the youth is the 3-4 persevering laws, fundamentals I shared with you. If they would share these fundamentals, there is no magic in what I've done. I've just stayed on course. Even as Lieutenant Governor, I've had the maximum stamina. I've had the more stamina than many other of my male colleagues. I've been spending weekends at work, long hours at work, only because it needed it. The place needed it. And they say, madam, आप तो हमारा काम भी कर देते हैं. तो मेरे पास स्टैमिना है, मैं कर रही हूँ. तुम्हारे पास नहीं है तो नहीं करो, तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम. लेकिन मेरे पास है तो मैं करूंगी. Also because उसकी काम की जरूरत है. ये नहीं दिखाने के लिए, देखो मैं कर रही हूँ. कुछ दिखावा नहीं. It's जरूरत के अनुसार.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question is from Srijita. When you found yourself facing life's biggest obstacles, what did you do to begin the process of overcoming it? How did you know what needed to be done and how did you motivate yourself? And did you ever find that causes or roots of obstacles sometimes spring from within us itself?
When I was in college, I was an athlete as well. And I used to run 80-meter hurdle race. And 80 meters hurdle race means after a few yards, there's a hurdle, right?
Yeah.
I chose to run that hurdle race and be fit to run in between the two hurdles and jump. So did I see it as an obstacle or did I use my fitness to run over it? I used to run it as a 80. I was known for hurdle, and I know how it's to fly over the hurdle. Every time you had to fly over the hurdle because so that your foot doesn't make the hurdle fall, because then it's a foul, right? The point here is, do you look at it as a hurdle or do you look at it as an opportunity? For I think I go searching for obstacles. Many times in life, today in career, if everything's going all right, there's something going wrong. Go searching. In traffic police, when I was in charge, do you know every day in the morning at 8 o'clock, that's a perseverance. 8 a.m., I used to leave my home to go study the roads of Delhi. The whole Delhi had only one DCP traffic. Imagine during 9th Asian Games when I was in charge, the whole of Delhi roads have not expanded. They've only got more roads. But Delhi as a whole, in its own square kilometers, it was only one DCP traffic. It is now commissioner traffic, additional commissioner traffic, DIG's traffic, DCP's traffic, zonal traffic. There are so many traffic. I was only one. Only one. And every morning, 8 o'clock, running around to understand the roads of Delhi because I did not know Delhi. I'd come from Amritsar. And I used to go round and round in many circles because I would lose my way myself on a scooter. So I used to tell my driver, take me around. I want to understand North Delhi, East Delhi, West Delhi, South Delhi. 8 in the morning. And I used to tell him, driver, take me where the problem is. Don't take me on these free highways or ring road. Sab theek hai, madam. Koi theek nahi hai. Andar chalo. Gali mein chalo. Lane mein chalo. Old Delhi chalo. Jahan bheed hai. Go where the problem is. Go where the market is. So that I get to see where the problem is. So it's a challenge? No, it's a problem solving. You have chosen to be regularly a problem solver. So when you are, that means you are looking where the problem is. Search areas for improvement. So for me, please don't look at, my message to the youth is, anytime you come through an obstacle, examine it. Look at it, dissect it, and see what can you do about it. If it's negative, did you call for it? No. Then that means it's nature sent. Analyze it. And if you called for it, correct your own conduct. So I used to go searching. And one day at a time, when I start to resolve these obstacles or challenges or issues, some were thrown at me and some I went into it to find out, to be a solutions provider. I'll give you one more example of traffic. It's going to be interesting for students. There was a Ghaziabad traffic block. There was a Ghaziabad border. Ghaziabad border in Delhi was always stuck, locked into trucks. And there was just one octroi there, and every truck coming from Ghaziabad to Delhi, Delhi to Ghaziabad, had to stop at this octroi to pay. See, things have dramatically changed now with information technology and bylanes. At that time, there was one major road with one octroi, and everybody lining up to pay the octroi. So people, when I start to move around, I start to get emails and letters. Madam, यहाँ तो एक एक 2-2 घंटे खड़े रहते हैं, कोई सुनता नहीं है, तो बहुत खड़े रहते हैं, क्या करें? So when I went, rather than saying अपने आप देखेंगे, कुछ नहीं, मेरे पास पुलिसमैन नहीं है, I went to the border. I went to the head of the problem, and I stood there and I realized, I understood what the matter was. And what happened was, it was an octroi. But the truck drivers would park there and start having a lot of tea and dhabas and food, and then they keep the park, so everything was still stand still. So what I did, I had no policemen. I had very few policemen, traffic policemen with me in the. In fact, a manpower was always a resource constraint. I brought a big crane, very big crane, which could lift the truck. So I didn't even have a crane. I hired a big crane remover crane, truck remover crane. And I said, ऐसे ये जो चाय वाला है ना, इस चाय पे जो ट्रक लेके बैठा हुआ है, ऑक्ट्रॉय दे चुका है, और ये it is stuck here, इसको उठाओ. It's violating the traffic rules. Lift it. So I lifted one truck by that crane. By that crane, I lifted that truck. Tell me which truck driver wants the truck to go, to be craned away. So he craned and took it to the police station. Now they had perishable goods in that. How can they do? Can you believe it? In 15 minutes, all trucks ran away. Where have they gone? But can I do it every day? Yes, I can. You know what I did? I parked that crane in that place. Karo tum, to ye crane utha legi aapko. Just parking that crane, truck crane, parking it there with an announcement, जो ऑक्ट्रॉय के बाद यहां रुकेगा उसका ट्रक ले जाएंगे. Just one head constable with one truck with that crane cleared Ghaziabad border like magic. Why? You would say, such a big challenge, such big truck owners, so powerful and muscled, will they listen to you? Of course they listen to me. I had a brain. I don't need a muscle. I need a mind. I need to have the will to solve the problems. All I needed was there and it did not have a problem during my tenure. Why do you think I got that name called Crane Bedi? It's because of this. Because of the solutions I found all along, and crane was a solution to lift these cars and lift these trucks and take them on. So I think I'm only simplifying the issue for you, that in life, every time you'll get very complex issues, personal issues, physical issues, mental issues. Don't let them grow. Go and deal with them, dissect it with them at the very early in your thinking. As Sister Shivani says beautifully, don't apni thought ko galat negative ko ghas mat do. Don't feed that negative thought. Watch it carefully. I learned it through Sri S.N. Goenka's Vipassana meditation. I learned it. Don't watch your thought. Be your own observant. Be your own eyewitness of your own thoughts. As it starts developing, kill it then and then. Watch it and observe it. It said, if you're angry, all you have to do is observe the anger. That's why I said, count 1, 2, 3, 4. It is actually observing. Don't they say drink a glass of water? It's actually letting it slow down. So I think everybody's lives will have all kinds of challenges. I've had them. We've learned, of course, I've also learned to deal with them. But as I've learned, you've called me at a stage of life and I'm now in a position to share with you my experiences. And I've learned them the hard way, the easy way, comfortable way, but they all come and I think they work.
Thank you. Thank you. In fact, Nikhil Anand had asked this question that tell us about being called Crane Bedi, and he really wants to hear you very briefly tell us about that instance when you towed away the wrongly parked PM's car.
Same policy. Again, as I told you, the manpower was so little and the whole of Delhi. And now I wanted to be in command and control. I wanted to deliver discipline. How do I do it with little manpower? How? And they also, policemen told me, ma'am, yahan hamari koi parwah nahi karta. Everybody, they get it And sir, ma'am, they just tear it. They just tear it. Chalan diya na, ye lo. My policeman was so disappointed. They said, madam, how many chalans can we do? They just tear it and they say, ye lo. So I said, no, you can't do this. This cannot happen with you. मैम ये से होता है, आप कहेंगे 100 चलान्स करो, तो मैम वो तो कागज फाड़ के दे देंगे हमको. तो आई सेड, लिसन, आगे से आप 100 चलान नहीं करेंगे, आप एक चलान करेंगे, लेकिन उसका चलान करेंगे जिसमें दुनिया डरेगी. आई सेड, मुझे चलान की गिनती नहीं चाहिए. You will चलान, I will never ask you how many chalans, but you will challan. And second thing was, at that time, that jo challan kiye, senior officer used to cancel it also. Some used to tear it. And some used to come to DCP's office to get it cancelled. Cancel kar do, chalo cancelled. Media ka challan cancelled. I told them, na maine cancel karna hai, aur na hi maine ginti mangni. So don't give me numbers and I will not cancel. Therefore, the challan you make, I shall be with you. I'll stand with you and defend you, and that person will have to go to court. Mrs. Gandhi's car was a product of this policy. When that officer was in Connaught Place and the Prime Minister's house car was also parked at the wrong place and getting it upholstery done with half the road occupied, my sub-inspector Nirmal Singh brought the crane and said, I'm towing it. He said, don't you know this is Prime Minister's car? He said, my madam only knows one policy. Jisko crane ka kunda lag gaya, aapki gaadi chalan hogi. And if wireless me, madam, आज तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर की गाड़ी भी फंस गई. I said, शाबाश, खूब डट के डबल चलान करो इसको, ताकि दुनिया को पता चले कि for Delhi traffic police, rule of law is it. We don't want number of chalans. The message is, if Prime Minister's car can also be chalaned, then who are you? Now you tell me, you tear the paper. I do remember Rajiv Gandhi, when he was the SOC chairman of Asian Games, he told his driver, go and get my parking label from the traffic police because they're not going to spare me. So that was the message. So the Prime Minister's car was exactly based on that. Now, you might say, madam, weren't you worried that something will happen? I said, something will happen. We'll deal with that when it happens. At the moment, let me do what I need to do today. If I'm going to always live in what will happen, then what about my present? I'm already under pressure. I'm already under stress of non-performance. I don't want to be non-performance. What you do with me tomorrow is your responsibility. What I do with you is my right. What you do with me tomorrow is your right. You perform your right. I perform my right of today. And every day is a new day. We'll see. So I have also lived my life one day at a time. It's all here one day. Somebody asked me the first question, when you did Swachhta and so many things, didn't some people get disturbed? Of course they do get disturbed. When you change things for the better, people are bound to be, because they're used to a certain pattern of thinking and living. But I can't be looking at are they happy? Are they sad? What will they do? No, I don't do that. This is the law. I've been given powers by the President of India as Lieutenant Governor under the Constitution to perform certain responsibilities. They are not saying it's conditional to others' comfort. I do my duty as per the law, as per given to me, delegated to me by the Honorable President of India. Simple. If some are happy and some are sad, that's their problem, not mine. My duty is to uphold the law as per the law in a humane way, not an egoistic way, but in a responsible way, in a conscientious way, period. So I wanted to go back to your first question, who asked me this portion I'd forgotten to answer.
Thank you so much. These conversations could go on forever. You are always inspiring, but we are aware that you have other appointments. So I'd like to invite Dr. Rajni Gupte, Vice Chancellor of SIU, to thank you and thank everyone.
Thank you, Anita. Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, the Chancellor of the University and the founder of Symbiosis. Dr. Vidya, the Pro-Chancellor of the University. Dr. Kiran Bedi, Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, our esteemed guest for the Golden Jubilee Lecture Series today. Dr. Anita, moderating the session today. Other deans, directors, faculty, staff, and students who have joined this session. Ma'am, when we began, Anita promised us an intense, energetic, power-packed session, and it truly was one. It is my honor to thank you for this wonderful session. I have always been a great admirer of your inspiring leadership. And hence, I'm so happy that our students have had the opportunity to listen to you today. When you spoke about the role that perseverance plays in success, it resonated with many of us who have continued to believe that hard work always pays. The story of your life has been an inspiration for many young people, and your principal leadership has been a beacon in public life. As a woman leader who grew from strength to strength with every challenge, you mentioned that you believe in some very basic tenets, and I found them truly interesting. I will reap as I sow. You are what you think. Believe in yourself. Make your own path. I invest in my vision of myself, and therefore I spend time and energy to realize my vision. And finally, you said, decide what you want, decide that you want each day to be heaven. Thank you so much, ma'am, for those wonderful words. Your responses to students also were so insightful. You patiently answered their questions. You told them that they should look for problems to solve and to have a sense of purpose. I'm sure your work will continue to inspire everyone who's listened to you today. We could have listened to you and your anecdote for hours, but I know that you have a very busy schedule ahead of you. Let me therefore thank my colleagues, the IT team, faculty, staff, Anita, and I also thank the students, Sarath from SIBM Pune, Srijita, Nikhil Anand, students from School of Economics and SIT, for all their questions and for all the students who have joined us today. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us today. As always, you have been, it's been a pleasure to listen to you. Thank you so much.
So much, Dr. Gupta. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Lots of hugs to you.
Thank you. Same here.
Hugs to you and my gratitude to Daddy
Definitely. I
and
will.
Mummy
Mummy is
and
also here.
Rajiv.
Actually. She's also here.
and Rajiv
I will certainly pass on.
and your whole family and your sister and all of them.
Definitely.
I miss them.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.